Hello, everyone on YouTube. How we doing? Long time no see. I'm Wardy. You've probably forgotten my voice by now. And I've got a video for you guys today. So this is I'm gonna explain what's been up in the next couple of moments. But first of all, let's introduce our two players from the Alimo League May monthly finals semi-final matches. Our Yellow Terran player is INnoVation in the top right of New Repugnancy, while in the bottom left, the Blue Protoss player is Stats from Splice. So obviously you might have realized that 2-3 weeks ago, maybe, I might have stopped uploading videos. So you guys may have already known, if you've already watched the stream, etc., you already probably do know this, but my mum has been in hospital. She has been in hospital since around the April the 13th, 14th, 15th, that sort of time. So she's been in hospital since April 13th or so. She has a brain infection, so she had an infection on her brain. It's caused some inflammation and stuff like that. So after about 3-4 weeks in hospital, they thought she was getting better, and on the day they were about to release her to go home, she had a really bad seizure. And over the next couple of days, we found out that things are pretty serious and that she had to get transferred to a different hospital, so she got transferred to a better hospital to be looked after by specialists. And that was 2 to 3 weeks ago when I stopped uploading videos, basically. So it was obviously a bit of a weird week. We were told things really don't look good. She had to go into high intensive care. It was pretty rough. So that, on top of having to drive into a further hospital as well, now takes 45 minutes per each way, rather than a 10-minute drive to the hospital previously. It just means that the time I sort of used to cast videos for YouTube has suddenly been taken up. So that week, while we find that stuff out, I actually cancelled all of my streams and stuff. Only just last week did I start getting my streams back on track and the stuff that goes out live on Twitch. Even then, it's not as much as I would usually like it to be, and stuff like that. So it's basically one of those situations where we're just trying to get back on track, and this YouTube video is hopefully a start of this. It's still kind of difficult because at the moment, I'm still visiting the hospital every single day. I still have to drive, again, 30-ish minutes there, and then coming back home takes about an hour because of the time and the traffic. Plus staying there for 1 to 2 hours at least a day. So I'm just losing like 5-6 hours, well, not 5 or 6, but by the time you get ready to go out, you know what I mean, it takes up a lot of the day, and alongside streaming, it's really tough to find time to put out YouTube content. So that's why there's been no YouTube videos. My mum is slowly getting better. They think the infection is fading away, and she should get better, but right now, because it's affected her brain, she's very confused. It's been a bit emotional for me because she's decided that she doesn't like me. We've had fights. It's been a whole emotional wreck. So that's kind of been what's going on. That's why there's been no videos. So I hope you'll accept the 3-minute explanation at the start of this best of 5 between INnoVation and Stats to give you guys a bit of an update. So we're going to cast this TvP between INnoVation and Stats. This is game number 1. As you can see, in a depth from Stats, getting pretty adventurous, going all the way into the natural here. As we do see, that one Marine is going to survive. Bunker up nice and early means you're pretty much defended, and this is no problem at all for INnoVation to defend. So good defense for INnoVation at the start of the game. While Stats is going into 2 extra gates alongside the Robo facility that's being built up here. So Robo on the way up in the main. There's a couple of Marines building from INnoVation. Cyclone on the way up as well, and the barracks now building a tech lab in the main base also. So INnoVation going to bring a Reaper through the bottom side. Obviously wants to use this to scout rather than defend, which is what he's used it for until now. Hops up into the main, but greeted by a second stalk. INnoVation, look, for his first bit of information at all, really, all he gets is an extra gateway scout, which doesn't really tell you too much at this stage. But I think as well, you can kind of see a couple of stalkers. You get a general idea, right? And I think what INnoVation is opening with is going to be pretty safe in general. The fast second racks, it means a lot of Marine production. The combat shields is coming quickly. He's getting a Cyclone into a siege tank as well. No starport because he's invested in that combat shields instead. So the build that INnoVation is going for anyways is quite naturally rather defensive. Slash, it's not really defensive because he's going to get aggressive in a way with combat shields, I would imagine. But it naturally does defend against higher amounts of pressure, Robo openings, Blink openings. The only thing he's not safe against is really like a Dark Shrine opening. Stargate you're pretty typically okay against as well, though it will be a bit tougher without any sort of starport unit. But yeah, just because if you invest into the starport, the medevac, etc., the Liberator is usually out on the map, and you're usually building Hellions or Widow Mines, which are not great defensively in comparison to building a Cyclone tank and then this Bioforce. INnoVation is really in a decent spot, so for not knowing what's going on, he's kind of alright to not know what's going on. Well, Stats are just going straight up to a Robo Bay with +1 attack starting. Looks like Stats are going to go straight through to Colossus production here. As INnoVation finishes combat shields, is looking to press forwards a little bit, but just sieging the tank in a forward position. So not going to press too far forwards. As this observer comes down the right-hand side. Couple more Marines coming out in production. Siege tank from the main base down to the natural. And just going to be seeing the couple of extra probes coming out in production here as that stim continues up. Just a quick moment as well, I guess, because this is always important, guys. Obviously, we want to get back on track for the YouTube, so if you do enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button. 1 like equals 1 more Terran player, because I know we all love Terran players. Okay. Hit that like button, leave the comments down below. Just thought I'd throw that in there because we know how important it is for the YouTube algorithm. Almost as important as these stalkers are to try and slow down this attack, but so far unsuccessful. Scan as well means Cyclone will grab a kill. And now an Adept at the front also going down. These Zealots don't have charge or anything, so they're useless. First Colossus is out, but if that gets targeted down by siege tanks, this is problematic, as here we go. The Bioforce will commit, and the Marines don't really split up at all. The tanks are extremely late to siege, will immediately target down the Colossus, but I think too late. First tank already targeted, and INnoVation's attack is going to be dealt with here. The shield battery is finishing as well, means this Colossus will survive a few extra shots of damage, and in fact, will survive altogether, although there's still a bit of bio, and a tank at the front here. INnoVation, another tank coming across. Well, now he can feel as though he can build up a bunker. He is getting rid of the shield batteries, and, well, Stats did lose a lot on the ground. Second bunker now on the way up. This is getting dangerous. Stim coming through too. Still no starport back at home for INnoVation. Just a third barracks alongside that factory. Stalkers pressing forward. Second tank going to siege. Colossus starting to deal some damage to those bunkers. First tank, though, will now get the Colossus kill. The other Colossus goes down too, and Stats has lost a lot here. 6.5 minutes in game. And, well, INnoVation might struggle to push further forwards because he's only got kind of stimless bio and 1 tank. The bunkers obviously aren't finished up here. He will bring another tank forwards. Does he have more SCVs coming? Yes, he does. So bunkers may complete here if Stats can't break out soon. That tank sieged up behind the bunker line once again. So now with 2 tanks, this is again very dangerous, but a new Colossus about to pop shortly. Will that be what Stats needs to get out of here? As again, the SCVs are about to arrive, and they will continue to build those bunkers, and if they finish, then this becomes so much more difficult for Stats, so much more health to break through before he can get anything done. Remember, Bio has Stim now. He could Stim on top of that Colossus, decides not to. Here we go, now he Stims in. Marauder's obviously very good against all the units that are out here from Stats. Will back away as the tanks are not in range any longer, knows the importance of those tanks. Marauder, that's low, gets into the bunker. The 7th Marauder learns its lesson as well. And tanks still are in range of the Nexus too, so if he gets the vision, INnoVation, he will be able to get some damage onto the Nexus there. There we go. That tank will continue to fire. This tank is going to position a little bit further forward, so it's in range of that Colossus on the high ground, so this bunker is going to be safe as well. And this is Stats just bleeding out at the moment here on New Repugnancy in our map number 1. Another SCV picked off. Tank fire still good. Bit more damage being dealt. Nexus continuing to drop down. This tank going to siege up as well. Zod's taking a lot more hits. Stalkers pressing forwards with the Colossus. The 2 tanks. Well, first one drops, the second one goes down as well. The bio will stim in. Stalker doesn't quite go down yet. That tank fire is pretty intense, but those Colossus being saved is huge. Unfortunately, backing away means you do not save the Nexus. Stats trying to build a Nexus hidden away in the top left-hand side. This Marine here obviously watching for a hidden base at the third or anything, but no, going to take the base to the top left. Stats knows he's in a little bit of trouble, so has to try and get something done at this point in time. Siege tank going to unsiege, pull back a little bit. Bio units already firing once again. Couple of gateway units in the front getting picked off there. The Marine picking its way through that Nexus. Pylons coming back into the top left-hand side. Siege tanks continue to siege, and, well, INnoVation's push has obviously been pretty deadly. All he has to do is make sure Stats doesn't get away with too much on this hidden Nexus, and INnoVation's like, why aren't you leaving the game? 99% sure that's what this phase is for. He's like, why aren't you leaving? As Stats is a little bit sad, and, well, seeing what happens in the next few moments as the recall of the natural goes across to that upper left-hand side. Yeah, Crank gonna translate for us. Get out, bro, he says. As INnoVation is, well, gonna continue along. Look at INnoVation. He's like, yeah, I've got a third base. Stats is like, yeah, well, come and kill me. I mean, it is one of those weird situations when obviously this game kind of is over, but Stats obviously has got a hidden base, and I'm surprised Inno isn't checking around for that just yet. Stats saying he's still mine from the main. Always love it in the Elima League matches when the players have a little bit of fun. Even better when Crank is in the lobby as well to translate for us. That's actually awkward. These Colossus coming through. Units go down. Bunker salvaged. INnoVation backing away. He scanned this base here, so you did see that this is mining. So that's obviously very good info for him to work with as the Warp Prism flying through into the main base. Some Zealots in there. Well, I mean, Stats is going to have a push across the map to try and do something. INnoVation is down on upgrades. The Colossus are scary, but I mean, we're talking about 4 siege tanks, if not more. Well, 5 in this little cluster, and probably more in production. Yeah, there is. So it's real difficult for these Colossus to really do anything because they have nothing to buffer for them either. Really nothing at all. As we're going to be seeing 2 more Vikings on the way up in the main base. Another medevac popping out. Sensor tower is about halfway done as well. And we're just going to be seeing the charge upgrade here in the main base of the Twilight Council also being chrono boosted out. So that's going to be chrono boosted as well. 5 Zealots going in from the upper left side. More supply depots coming out now. +1 armor on that engineering bay. And again, everything from INnoVation currently just gathering together as stats as units. Setting up in the center of the map. Siege tank gonna get set up to go as well back at home. I mean, this is a real game where I'm just sort of saying whatever's happening because there's not really much else to tell you guys. INnoVation is by far and away winning this game, and it's just a matter of him feeling confident enough to go across the map to end it, because what on earth is Stats gonna do? This army is pathetic. You know, 3 Colossus, like a handful of Zealots. Everything is just going to melt here as the Vikings get rid of the War Prism as well. And Stats, as INnoVation's pretty happy about that one. Stats is just going to be in more and more trouble. You know, we'll scan the natural, sees that it is rebuilt, and he's like, okay, I'm going to unseat my tanks, I'm going to go across the map. And this really should just kill this year in the near future. So here we go, bio from INnoVation. Pressing forwards into the middle. Couple of Vikings, the medevacs. All of this gathered up sentries. Gonna drop a couple of force fields marines. Pressing forwards as well, that sentry. Gonna keep on backing away. INnoVation's army continuing over to the far left-hand side. The sentries again, I mean, force fields are the one thing that can buy time here, and that they will kind of do. There's still a little bit of a gap. I mean, Stats has just got to be realizing already that he's in a lot of trouble. He does send Zealots into the third base. Got to give it a Stats for how dead he is. He'll try anything he can to stay in the game. The Zealots included. Yeah, that Warp Prism attempt before as well. Shield battery at the front goes down. And, well, I mean, you can just look at this army of INnoVation. You kind of know what's going to happen. I think the more exciting thing is, will these Zealots get cleaned up, you know? Because the fight across the map is realistically going to go very one-sidedly as tanks are sieging up. Stats is getting pushed further and further back into his natural expansion. And this is pretty much going to be a GG in the next few moments. Here's the bio. Continues to whale its way across that Nexus. Nexus will go down. Templar Archives taking some hits as well. Well, I mean, again, eventually the army of Stats has to press forwards, and INnoVation's even already going to drop the mule. This is really a kind of a get-out-my-game sort of game, though, as INnoVation picks up map number 1. And we'll take a quick jump into game number 2 then, to continue this series between INnoVation and Stats in this YouTube exclusive cast. Good to be back. Let's see what happens in game 2. Jumping into our second map, Acropolis. Obviously, these are new maps since we last did YouTube broadcasts or YouTube videos. But we have seen these before. They are maps from the Team Liquid Map Contest tournament that all the VODs are up for on the YouTube channel. So, yeah. To the top left-hand side, let's introduce some players. Our Yellow Terran up 1-0 with that push in the first game is INnoVation. Fighting against the Blue Protoss in the bottom right side of the map, we have got Stats representing Splice. Of course, INnoVation reciprocity. The player's going to have a bit of a discussion about the map and asking if it's good for Protoss. It's a pretty heavy macro map. Stats says, don't know, I just picked it. It is a very macro-friendly map. Main, natural, third, easy, simple progression. Fourth base, also easy to hold out over here. And then the middle of the map is my favorite part because it's such a cool, interesting center that creates so many cool different fights and positions. So it should be pretty intriguing as we get this set up early on. INnoVation saying it's Terran. It's just all about skill apparently. Wow, and Stats thrown out the shade. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's if I had to pick a map, kind of a race that this map is good on, honestly, it kind of matches all of them pretty well. You know, it depends who feels more comfortable in the macro game, because you can get free bases here real easy as a Protoss, but actually you can drop the main, and the third is then quite far away for the Protoss to defend. And you've also got pushes here, you know, siege tanks setting up and pushing through this area. Imagine a Nexus here. This is a huge choke point. So not only the Terran army will be choked, but the Protoss too. So if you get tanks here, it becomes very dangerous for pushing into. Now, obviously, the side effect of that is it's a larger map, so early game tank pushes aren't really much of a thing. But talking about that maybe later in the game. It also means that Liberators pushing into that base is very cool, pushing through the center down into this base is very powerful as well. So as a Terran player later in the game, I can definitely see how INnoVation sees that this is maybe a Terran favored map. But that said, as a Protoss, you're still pretty safe to take 3 bases. You're still pretty, as long as your defense is good. It's that typical sort of thing, right? Like, any map that gives you 3-4 bases as a Protoss somewhat easily, you're still going to have to defend somewhat on. As long as you achieve that, you can always be in a good position. But yeah, interested to see how these maps continue to turn out. Honestly, I'm very happy with the maps chosen. I love this map. I think it was one of my favorite from the map contest. One that during the map contest I felt was, for me personally, very underrated for a little while. And then after, a few more matches and talking about the maps and stuff, I was like, wait, this map really is quite good. And I'm like, yeah, I actually think this might be my favorite of them all. Here comes that early Adept again from Stats, poking across, but not going to find anything just yet. Will shade through into the natural. Twilight Council is building in the main base, so different choice of tech here this time around from Stats as well. From the Robo facility in game 1 to the Twilight here in game number 2. This is typically for a very fast blink play, but we'll see if maybe there's some other plans for Stats. Nope, just going to be blink. Well, there's not really many blinking locations to the main base. You've got this kind of decking around here, which means that this is a Reaper path, but you can't really just blink up into the main. So actually, Blink Stalkers shouldn't do too much here in terms of harassing around. Also, if they want to poke at the natural, they then have to rotate a long way to get over there. So it's actually very limited in terms of what you can do with Blink as a Protoss on this map, as the Reaper going across to try and get some info. But this is a wall-off. I don't think you'll even be able to get up to the high ground to see the Twilight, so... Well, interception anyway. Stalkers will take that Reaper down. It is going to be a Widow Mine drop initially. This gives INnoVation a chance to get across the map. He'll pick up some information and some scouting info with this, as well as maybe being able to deal some damage while transitioning through already the next barracks on the way. So not going to wait around too long from this Widow Mine drop. Just going to be the 2 Widow Mines, and going from there is a few more Marines on the way out. Also, Tech Lab on this factory, probably just straight away barracks onto that startup stim. Third rack's going to start as well, so probably a Tech Lab on this starport too, so no messing around with super early siege tanks, super early Ravens or anything. Really just building in towards the bio here. Maybe he'll just sneak a Raven out of this starport before this barracks finishes, because actually it's going to be up a while, and INnoVation does have a lot of gas, and a Raven does go a long way in helping out in the world of TvP. Has so many different uses. Do you see the medevac coming around over to the far right hand side? Couple of Widow Mines going to be heading down the right and in towards, through the third base, in towards the natural expansion. Robo facility going to be finishing up that observer. Corona boost still continuing. 2 more Stalkers finishing warping in. And we are just going to be seeing that stim pack upgrade starting up here in the main base of INnoVation. Straight into stim. Let's see what this Widow Mine drop does. Stats is out of position, but of course you can just pull your units, your probes away as well to minimize the effect here. The Widow Mine's instant pull away by Stats, paying a lot of attention to what's going on. Widow Mine here is going to go into the assimilator, so actually 1 into the assimilator, 1 probe killed. One of the best of Widow Mine connections, because that's only 1 probe for 2 Widow Mine shots. Not bad at all for Stats, who will continue his push across the map. Quite a lot of Stalkers in play. Only 3 gates, but it's been warping in consistently, and hence delaying other things such as upgrades, forges. Robo has come down, but not too much from it. We have got just the observers on the map so far. Nice interception of this medevac as well. In the end, from INnoVation, he did build that Raven before he swapped the starport off of the Tech Lab, so as mentioned, obviously the Raven has a huge role to play, generally has a lot of different uses, although will not help too much against this initial set of Stalkers as they push forwards. Good Blink Micro back, of course. Stats shouldn't lose anything here, doesn't even take too much hull damage, just a bit of shields now and again. Still a Marine patrolling off over to that side. +1 attack, +1 armor, Corona boosting out on the main base, more and more gateways being built up as well. So that's just building straight up through into the mid-game. His third Nexus is up and running as well, and when you look at INnoVation's side of things, his third CC just starting. Well, he obviously perhaps wants to get pushing with this Bioforce, but we'll see what he can do. I guess there isn't a lot to kind of pull him back home. These Stalkers maybe, but there's no War Prism yet on the map, one being made now. But without that War Prism, it's very difficult to get INnoVation turning back around to kind of, pull this army home. So let's see what Stats can do with this. Again, lots of gateways, no Robo Bay, no tacking up in towards those Colossus this time around. On a much larger map, going to play that much more kind of mobile style of so many gateway units early on. couple of order turrets to the Raven coming through the main base. However, unfortunately, Raven did go down as well. Sorry for missing that. It's dropped on the bottom left side. Stalker's had the watchtower for a moment though, and I think Stats will just blink onto this for one medevac kill at least. That's a full medevac. In fact, he split up his damage there, so the other medevac was in a lot of danger too, and that's going to be a full cleanup apart from maybe the other medevac. We'll lose this Stalker or so. The rest of INnoVation's army doesn't look that scary at all now, so Stats with a good pick off there, and that really stops INnoVation from doing what he wants to do at all. Now we're going to see Marine going to take the watchtower on the left side, so INnoVation trying to fight back some map control. But again, Stats has done all of this off of a very nice, easy third Nexus that he's very happy with. Takes extra gases now, and mortal production has been starting up. He's getting ready to go into 2-2 upgrades as well. Stats is in a position where, realistically, this game is going very well for him, and it's only going to improve because he can put some pressure onto INnoVation's third base now, and maybe try and slow him down from manning from here. And we'll fan to an orbital command straight away. Now Zealot's in the main big warping, because remember there's a lot of gateways here, and INnoVation wants nothing to do with it. Taps out, GG. Stats will pick up game number 2, tying the series up 1-1. And we'll be heading into a third game between Stats and INnoVation. See how this series continues through here in this best of 5 series. Alright, we're hopping into game number 3 here of this best of 5 between Stats and INnoVation in the Alima League. Not gonna lie, I had to take a little bit of a break between the casting of these matches, so if I say something that's already been said before, it's just because I've kind of had a little bit of a break. My brain's been a bit like, what was already said? So hopefully it still just melts together quite nicely overall, though. As we get this going, to the top right is Stats, the red Protoss player. And in the bottom left, we have got the blue Terran INnoVation. On Turbo Cruise 84, this was in the Team Liquid map contest tournament known as Neo Tokyo Turbo Cruise. And yeah, excited to, obviously as the map name gets shortened for the ladder, excited to see it on the ladder because it has these very interesting inhibitor zones, which are slow zones. So as you can see here already, this probe gets slowed as it moves through it, and it does affect ground and air units. So it does create a bit of an interesting dynamic on this map where attacking straight through the middle generally isn't really a very beneficial way to kind of deal with things at all. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at here as this probe comes along down to the bottom left-hand side to scout around. Obviously this map's caused a little bit of discussion, and some people are like, why is this a ladder map? I kind of agreed at first with the way that the game is played out in the Team Liquid map contest tournament. Since it's come to ladder, we've seen it in a few tournaments, it has given us some better games. It's kind of weird in the way that it doesn't encourage super short, cheesy games, but it makes very long kind of games happen, out of nowhere almost. You know, in games which you usually feel like, oh, well, this game should kind of maybe end now, the game doesn't end. It just goes on and on and on and on. So, kind of intrigued to see how this turns out, as we are going to be seeing this Nexus on the way down here from Stats, and obviously just an expansion on either side of the map means it's a pretty regular opening from both at the moment. So both players just setting up fairly normally. And as we're going to be seeing that Adept Chrono boosting out as well. Stats just looking to get some presence across the map as the Reaper on its way over too. Looks like the Reaper's going to go around the right-hand side. You also have one inhibitor zone here as well, which kind of stops the pathing around this side or slows it down a little bit too. That actually happens more often than you'd think, as the Reaper jumps up this side and we'll be able to jump into the main base here. So actually going to be able to get straight into the main, but obviously too early to really see any tech structures. Is just going to go for a probe kill. That's a really nice bop of probes. One of them will not go down, unfortunately, but it was a nice grenade, throwing them to the other side of the mineral line, disrupting mining. And as the Adept shades after the Reaper will, of course, get away. So Reaper away. No early aggression or anything from Stats here as the bunker comes up from INnoVation, so that's going to be finishing in a moment or two. And that is going to put us in a position where INnoVation's pretty safe here at the start, as the Twilight Council drops down here in the main base as well. Stalker going to be able to jump on that Reaper, and the Reaper moving through the main base is going to be going for a little bit more damage again, popping some of those probes around. Adept is going to shade on top of it, and the Reaper does die. Factory finishes up in the main base of INnoVation. Starport also dropping down here. Widowmine on the way out. A couple more Marines being produced. And those are all starting to jump into this bunker now, as we're going to be seeing the couple of Stalkers and the Adept gathered up together. Twilight Council researching that blink. Another gateway dropping down in the main base as well. So all of this still coming through here. There's a couple of extra probes on the way out. And another gateway being placed down. Factory going to make room for this Starport to lift up, drop down in position as well. fact, we're even going to start up a tech lab there, so tech lab to get going. Starport moves over into position. Blink on the way as well here on the Twilight Council. So getting that blink up and running too. That's another pylon dropping down in the main base. Robo facility dropping in the main base as well. All of this coming up. I mean, very standard opening. Just nice fast blink. Stats looking to create some map control here early on and create a little bit of a dynamic where he is the one who's going to be in control early. As INnoVation sets up with a Raven, Siege Tank also building in 2 extra barracks. We are in a position here where obviously the Raven becomes a very important unit throughout the game. And it'll be intriguing to see what stats can do to try and shut that down. It's going to be very important to try and keep that Raven alive against the Blink Stalkers, because obviously that's not easily done. So we're going to have to really try and stay on top of that one, as you do see this probe from stats coming around to the top, dropping down a Nexus on the 3rd base. So Nexus coming through. So Nexus comes on down, going to be seeing the Blink about to finish up as well. So this is when the Stalkers are likely to start taking some map control. Interestingly, stats does expand through the top side of the map rather than to the pocket expansion here. This expansion is maybe a bit safer because of the lack of ability to attack up. And, you know, if tanks get over here, you can maybe have some elevator play. Now, this base is a bit more set back, I suppose, and I guess it's a bit of a weirder position to get to for INnoVation in the first place. Kind of depends where INnoVation expands to, as Stalker's currently moving down to the bottom left-hand side. Blink will be up in a moment or so for them to continue moving across nice and easily. As INnoVation spread out well, bunkers still at the front, the Siege Tank looks as though it will support the low ground, and a few units in the main base. Marines and a Raven just sat there in case the Observer flies in. Obviously already in position for those Stalkers. If the Stalkers jump on that Raven, that could still be deadly, but we'll probably lose a few Stalkers in the process. Just going to poke away at the Marines. INnoVation just going to try and pull out of range there, wants to force the Stalkers. You know, if they want to come up here, they're going to have to blink up. Raven drops an auto turret instantly, and well, the Stalkers are still able to kite away somewhat. I mean, a few more Marines coming up from the low ground now. Raven does take some damage. Stalkers will blink for the Raven, but that's a very expensive blink, because look how many Stalkers will die. If there's ever a time to lose your Raven, it's for all of the Stalkers bar 1 or 2. That was, INnoVation's like, yeah, what was that? Stats really thought the Raven was going to go down a bit more easily or so there. Obviously did not. That's a bit of a problem. There's 5 extra gates on the way up, +1 attack and armor coming through. Charge going to be done on the Twilight Council in the near future as well. Man, all of those Stalkers going down. Stats, what a blink. What a bad blink. I mean, not saying that in a positive way at all. And you see a few more Marines from INnoVation moving out the front. The Stalkers blink back into the inhibitor zone. Realizing that's not going so great from either. As extra gateways still coming through, getting set up. Charge upgrade on the way as well. +1 attack and armor still being chrono boosted on the forges. So that +1 attack and armor still coming in here. A little bit of bio from INnoVation going to start pressing forwards. And you're going to be seeing the few Stalkers here just sitting on the other side of that inhibitor zone yet again. INnoVation just about able to make his way through this here, so able to kind of make his way up through to the top side of the map. Still these Stalkers looking to see what they can do, is turning around. Stalkers get pushed away pretty quickly, pretty easily. And tanks are going to start sieging up over in this direction here, so pushing in towards this top side Nexus. Nexus is going to start taking quite a lot of damage. So here he goes, Zealots come charging forwards, a couple of sentry Stalkers too. Stalkers blinking right on top of the siege tank here as, well, this is actually going to be a bit of a cleanup. These Zealots aren't dying. INnoVation now is target firing down Stalkers. And he does bring the Stalker count down to 2, but those Zealots were just untouchable. INnoVation unable to break through, was down an armor upgrade in this fight as well, so didn't have any sort of upgrades on his side. And them upgrades will continue for stats, by the way. 2-2 now on the way on the forges, so that chrono boost still coming down. Only a very limited number of gases, only just now taking more gases. We're only on 3 up until now, so very kind of gateway heavy. And those gateway heavy kind of setups are kind of the way you want to deal with these kind of tank pushes, because obviously if you go into Colossus or something, invest your gas into that, the tanks can then target down the one unit that is very powerful very easily, right? So then your investment is not necessarily also worthwhile. Zealots, sentries and Immortal just hanging out in the center. Another few Zealots around the top left as the medevac's going to go boosting across over the right hand side. So medevac's continuing over to the far right here. Going to be seeing the +1 armor coming in on the engineering base, so it's just continuing along as medevac's lift up, going to go boosting up into the main base. Lots of pylons and gateways here, as we're going to see this set of units unloading. Templar Archives about to finish up as well. Zealots going to be charging on in as the Bio will continue to fight. Widow Mines as well, they're going to help a lot against the Zealots, and they do get rid of a few, but there's more from the south side. And so the Bio will just have to again lift and leave. INnoVation's not having any fun at all trying to fight against those Zealots. We're going to be seeing a little bit of Bio here pushing away on the bottom side. We see the Warp Prism flying on through. 4 Zealots going to start unloading, and those SCVs going to take some damage. A lot of SCVs that'll go down here. Actually, 5 SCVs almost in an instant. Stats very good with this kind of pressure, but you've got to look at the worker count, and INnoVation's ahead on workers, and that's always a good sign for a Terran against a Protoss, because Protoss is typically for them Chrono Boost meant to be ahead, because then the Terran has mules, which obviously help out a whole bunch as well. It's kind of an intriguing game so far, because INnoVation has felt as though he's had moments to attack, but they've never really been that successful for him. And then on the other side of things, Stats has been, you know, very good at harassing, but is also not really, you know, has made mistakes as well. Losing those Stalkers, for example, still isn't on a great probe count. I mean, at this point, you'd expect the Protoss player to be much further along in terms of getting a 4th base up and running. Stats is taking that 4th base here now. INnoVation doesn't want to expand down here, by the way. I think he's just hunting this Prism. If he wants to expand, it should be up here. This base down here is very out of the loop. Very kind of out of nowhere, it feels. I guess that's the base that Stats has up here, though, so I guess maybe not so much. It just feels like with this base here, the natural expansion to take now is this one. Expand upwards. But then I guess if you expand here, you can hold this more centralized area a bit more easily and kind of go from there. So, yeah, maybe not the biggest of deals. We do see Warp Prism recalled home, lifts up the High Templars. Ghosts are on the way out here from INnoVation, so he's going to have EMPs available to him going into the next little fight in the next few moments. +3 attack and armor coming in on those forges now. Again, those upgrades from Stats are fantastic. The EMPs will help to offset that a little bit, of course. Take away the shields means the Terran army then has less damage to deal overall. So, you know, while obviously the upgrades don't affect the shields, it still helps kill the Protoss off a little bit faster. So that will be nice. And I mean, EMPs and Ghosts are absolutely the units you want in this sort of scenario now, because it is very gateway heavy still. You know, it is High Templars with Storm. So EMPs are definitely the answer at the moment, as we do have a few Zealots hanging out to the left-hand side. Bio pressing forwards, Widow Mines as well. And the Zealot is going to come back in. Marine going to get sliced apart. That Zealot actually gets to survive. There's a little drop bottom right. We'll find a little bit of a Zealot run by, so that's nice. Widow Mines over here cleaning up the Zealots attempting to run through as well. I mean, it's just Widow Mines and all sorts going off all over the place. The Stats now coming in over on the left-hand side. Widow Mine burrows up. Ghosts looking for an EMP, not able to find it. Stats still trying to move through the center. Another Storm drops down. Bio backs away. And another round of Zealots warps in. Still pressing forward here. Big EMPs. That choke point was actually huge, and that's actually really bad for Stats, as they go. High Templars, though, are hitting the Storms on the army, and that's going to keep INnoVation at bay for the moment. Bio army going to get shut down with a few more Zealots. Another really good Storm. If there's anything that INnoVation can fix in this game, it really is walking into quite a lot of Storms. He still has EMPs available. He drops another one right now, but there's still also High Templars with energy, and that's the benefit of keeping the High Templar in the Warp Prism. They can't get hit by those EMPs before the fight is kicking off. Over into Archons as well. Now the EMP numbers, maybe still be 1 or 2 here. Another big Storm on top of the Ghost, and Widow Mines too. Widow Mine does go off, and one of the Archons gets blown up. Another Storm, and that's dead Widow Mines this time around. Wow, is it these two really not in that Storm? That's actually ridiculous. This is such a drawn-out fight for TvP, as INnoVation is still hitting this base. Obviously, Stats does not want to run into this choke point of EMPs, and Widow Mines wants to try and get as many Storms off as possible first. Now the Widow Mines are going off, and you can see why he was reluctant to go in. The Archons get blown up. The Zealots don't last too long either. The thing is, INnoVation doesn't have many units left, and he does want to keep the Ghosts alive. The last thing you want to do is have to rebuild Ghosts here. But reinforcements show up, another couple of EMPs. The Archon drops in an instant. Shield Battery brings one of the Immortals back up. Now the Ghosts are starting to die, though, and this way INnoVation maybe should have thought about turning around when he did before. Even though his reinforcements came in, it was tempting for him to continue. As Widow Mines blow up these last couple of Zealots. It was tempting to continue, but again, look at this. He had 5 Ghosts before. Now he's got 1. And that was just in the last few moments. So I definitely feel the last couple of moments were actually better for Stats than Inno. Although I guess Stats also did lose an Archon, did lose an Immortal. And you see the Zealots are continuing to get picked off here. Warp Prism loads up a couple of Zealots as well. Coming down to this bottom side, and we do see the Zealots going to get picked off. So Zealots going down here. Couple more Tempests on the way out from Stats. Still getting that set up as the Immortal still Corona boosting away as well. The rest of this army from INnoVation just setting up out towards the center. You know, just moving around a little bit with this here. Tempest out through the top. Stats with an army in the center as well, as you mentioned. And again, these couple of Tempests from Stats are just looking to see what can happen now as observer of Stats. We'll see the army moving around the top right-hand side. The Tempests obviously going to start putting a bit more pressure onto INnoVation's army. INnoVation will probably have to commit into extra Vikings here to be able to deal with this. This army of Stats still just hanging out towards the fourth base. Four puts them into the main, but actually quite a lot of bio to deal with it. A Ghost that just popped out, dropped an EMP, so actually those Zealots don't last long at all. Finally 3-3 done for the Terran as well, so upgrades are now evened out. Protoss is starting to work on the shield upgrades. INnoVation comes through the center. Still could take down these rocks. While you can't kill the inhibitor zones, you can kill these rocks to have a bit more space to move through with the larger army, even if it is still slowed. Surprised we don't see that more often, honestly. There's a couple Tempests flying away already. Widowmines wanting to move forward. DMP hits High Templar at the front. Feel like that's the one that already dropped the Storm. Again, INnoVation's attacking into a big Storm, but he hits the EMPs on all the High Templar. Oh my god, where was that High Templar? In the mineral line. Okay, well, he had all the EMPs over here, and that's why the High Templar morphed into Archons. New High Templar are beginning to arrive, so INnoVation will have to deal with more Storms again here in a second. It was scary for INnoVation running through those Storms, but I think it was worth it for the EMPs he got. Obviously, a few more High Templar now means he will back away again, probably wait for another few Ghosts here. And Stats continues to expand up through the top side. INnoVation did end up expanding down to the bottom as well, by the way. Didn't take the space. I really thought with this space, though, he'd have the potential to just push forwards into this side of the map very easily. Maybe if he was playing like a more Liberator style, that would be a bit better, because Liberators obviously do benefit from kind of pushing forwards and having a position to work forward from. As this Bioforce comes around the right, INnoVation looking for a different direction of attack, and well, he has a couple of EMPs again, and a couple of Vikings are not going to do great against the Shield Battery Tempest, though. And INnoVation is pushed back. It's just overall in the game, INnoVation has been trading better, and resources lost in his favor. Income, you know, for the most part here and there. It's actually quite back and forth for income, actually. But I guess if it's kind of back and forth and evened out, that's better for INnoVation, who's been trading better, right? And overall, that has been the scenario. So Stats is in some trouble still. I mean, just hasn't really had a suitable army supply for a while. And that's kind of the problem. Every fight Stats has taken has been down on army supply from the early losses of those Stalkers. He's just been really a bit behind, and anything, you know, a little bit less of a lead early on, maybe Stats could make something of this. But again, losing those Stalkers was a big loss, and yeah, INnoVation maybe didn't have the best couple of fights, and Stats got back into it a bit, but there still was that kind of looming deficit. And the Tempest firing a few more shots off. High Templar from the top left-hand side, wanting to try and find a Storm. 12 probes down in the last few moments. Storm, nope, the EMP will land. That High Templar will be killed. That's catching up a little bit in army supply. 99 to 117. INnoVation maxed out, so can't get much further along. Is building more and more Vikings now, really just looking for a way to kill those Tempests. I just don't feel like there's a lot to kind of support the Tempests on the ground at the moment, actually. And if the Marines get underneath the Tempests, obviously that is a disaster. No EMPs just yet, waiting to drop those on the High Templar perhaps. The Vikings trying to press forward. The shield battery's already out of energy. Maybe an EMP lands on one of those. Again, the Storms are very good. INnoVation's Vikings trying to hit wherever they can. This is the issue, though. I think suddenly you're out of Storms, and suddenly this Bioforce will just overwhelm, and then the Tempests go down anyways. It doesn't matter if there aren't enough Vikings around, because the Marines underneath them will just shut them down indeed. And as those couple of Archons go down, the Tempests at least do fly away, keep themselves alive. The topside Nexus will fall. Zealot swiping away at the refinery on the side here. The rest of the bio gathering up. Ghosts as well. Finds a probe moving back towards this base. A few more probes set up here also. Bio stimming through. Ghosts essentially looking for a couple of EMPs in the next few moments as Vikings continue to fight those Tempests. Nexus is about to go down. The Archon's in trouble as well. Moving through the center. Some DTs are actually going to pass by some of that Bioforce. Bio army coming in. Archons will get shut down. I mean, now Stats has lost 4th base, 5th base. I guess this was the 4th base, that was the first. He lost 3rd base and 5th base, but 2 bases going down. INnoVation probably does just have too much. And actually Stats does know it, types out the GG. INnoVation takes the lead in this series 2-1. So INnoVation takes the lead, and one map more will lock it down for him. But let's see if Stats can bounce back and give us a game 5 in this. We'll hop on and see what our map's going to be as well. We've had New Repugnancy, Acropolis, and Turbo Cruise. So we've got like maybe Kairos Junction, Cyber Forest. I would expect those to be the maps we maybe see here. King's Cove also a possibility, I guess. I feel like INnoVation probably vetoes King's Cove though. Alright, let's see what the map is as we jump into game 4 straight after, well, for you guys in a second, straight after I load up the replay for myself. This is one of the maps I didn't mention, Thunderbird. Nice large map. Actually very macro friendly as well. Top left hand side, our blue Protoss player. From Splice, this is Stats. Up against the yellow Terran in the bottom right hand corner of the map, we have got INnoVation from Team Reciprocity. So again, number 4 of this TvP, look to see what will happen. And as we get this set up, we get this going in the next few moments and see what INnoVation's going to come up with. Obviously, again, in the last game was heading in towards like a Raven tank setup. On Thunderbird, Raven tank pushes don't do that well just because it is a rather large map to push across. It can be shortened a little bit if these minerals get mined, and we might see some early probe mining of those to open up the pathway to you can mine one of these minerals with the probe. Basically, your scout arrives a bit faster. I think obviously if you want to keep the pathway long, which a Protoss player generally does prefer, then you're better off kind of obviously just leave them and not doing that with the probe. Depends what the Protoss wants to do, but I would imagine this without the minerals being mined means that he's not going to build like a super early adept descent across the map or anything. Otherwise it just doesn't make sense not to mine those minerals. So obviously Thunderbird's super macro friendly. I mean, we talk about a natural and a third base that are both defended by one single ramp. It's not super ridiculous because there is of course an access point over here once these minerals have mined out, but how often are you going to see your opponent mining those minerals? Very rarely. And I mean, you can bring a couple of workers across, sure, but a couple of workers doesn't necessarily do enough because 2 workers open up like a one single width gap, and that means your army is streaming in a very bad way into the third, so it generally isn't beneficial for you. So it is very tough to realistically attack here on into the free base of your opponent. Well, Stats sending a probe to the upper left hand side is heading to that top, seeing what's up, seeing what's going to happen. Probe coming through the middle then. Nexus on the way down from Stats. Very standard stuff. I think Nexus coming in nice and quickly. Will Chrono Boost out the Adept, but again, it's not an Adept that's at a time that's going to really deny this command center, right? This was Nexus before Cybercore, so the Adept's going to finish it. Again, it's nowhere near going to be close enough to delay that CC, especially on the size of this map. Meanwhile, the Reaper from INnoVation will be arriving, so he's just going to actually hide behind the natural expansion here for the moment. Obviously, Stats doesn't know where that Reaper is, and INnoVation, ooh, Stats is going to check behind the mineral line. That's actually pretty cute. That's nice, because obviously that could have been annoying. Oh, this Reaper's in trouble. Okay, can jump up to the high ground. And then there's a Stalker coming out shortly, and the Reaper's obviously already taken 1 hit. So, a bit of an interesting moment or so as, I mean, this is all because the Reaper wanted that first probe. Reaper Grenade would have been good on the Stalker, but the Adept gets the kill beforehand anyways. 2 probes at least, so getting something out of this at the very least, which is nice because obviously it's not something that you always do get happening. Sometimes you're left to live a bit more of a painful time as you see the Stalker and the Adept continue to shade down on the bottom side of the map here. Orbital Command is about to finish up. You will drop SCVs on the way out. Again, Adept and the Stalker from Stats continuing down into the bottom right corner. As the Starport going to be finishing in the next few moments. Wouldn't mind going to burrow up, and again, Adept, Stalker just sat here. INnoVation will. We'll see what INnoVation perhaps wants to do. A few Marines pressing in. INnoVation, I think that the Wouldn't mind INnoVation is safe. Enough Marines here as well. Especially because it wasn't like a super early Adept or anything, so he didn't need the bunker like he built in the last couple of games now. Definitely built in the last game. I think he built in one of the first 2 games as well, at least. Look at that. Stats a completely different playstyle here. Robo Bay very early on. So from only playing 3 gases in the last game, he's already on 4 gases at 4 minutes this time. Robo Bay dropping down in the forge means obviously pushing into Colossus, and that typically means you probably delay the third base a bit while defending on, Colossus 2 bases and delaying the third. But because it's a very easy to take third, it might still be that might still come up like a bit faster than usual. Compared to kind of how you would usually do this with Colossus-based openings. Marine of INnoVation pushing into the upper left side. An Observer of Stats heading down in towards the center. +1 attack upgrade on the Forge. Robo Bay just sat right next to it as Raven's going to start up here as well. Going to be seeing another barracks dropping down too. First Rax going to swap over to a tech lab already. Factory onto its own tech lab, so going to be potentially opening up siege tank production as the Raven is on its way out as well. So pretty similar from INnoVation. I mean, against Colossus, Raven can obviously do a lot as this Widow Mine drop is in a lot of danger, obviously. Statsies are coming from a mile off. But the Widow Mines will burrow, which means... well, that was an interesting unburrow, I think, because he wants to try and not let it go off on workers in the gas, because if they jump into the gas, they actually don't die. Obviously, in the end, just lost the Widow Mine without shooting at anything, so it is a bit of a questionable one, because he knew those Stalkers were there. Another barracks to a tech lab as the Raven is done. It's timed up nicely so that Combat Shields and Stim will still finish at the same time. +1 attack is pretty much the same build time as Combat Shields too, so you can start up Combat Shields now, and well, that's not quite the same build time, it's a bit longer. But you can start up Combat Shields now, and it's basically going to finish up with these other upgrades. And that can create obviously a nice little time for you here initially, as INnoVation with Raven and a few Marines moving around is going to find an Observer. Oh, is he going to get the kill? Is it worth the auto turret is the question. Because he's not going to catch it with Marines. Oh, wow, he is. Wow, that one Marine at the end catching it. I don't think it's worth the auto turret, though, because the auto turret is 50 energy, and you kind of want to build that Raven up to as high energy as possible. The more interference matrix slash just things you have to throw down on the Protoss army from that Raven when you push is really beneficial. So throwing down auto turrets is really kind of like, I absolutely need this to defend sort of scenario. Like in the last game when you dropped down the auto turret to help against the Stalkers, that was a big... that was, a very important moment for him, as we are going to be seeing the Marines and tanks, Marauders as well, pushing out a little bit. Just heading out onto the map. Command Center going to be finishing here from INnoVation, so that'll be done shortly as charge. Starting up in the main base. +1 armor being Chrono boosted out as well. Colossus continue to be Chrono boosted too. A couple more barracks on the way in. INnoVation's push getting going. Might just take down these rocks. Obviously gives a bit of an easier push across to the top side as well. That's what INnoVation's going to go for here initially. Intrigued to how this goes. Obviously Ravens will look for interference matrices on those Colossus. The tank sieging will look to target by those Colossus down too, but looks like INnoVation's just going to back away. He isn't going to get overly aggressive. His third orbital is just about to finish morphing, so you can move that into location very shortly here. And there is a double medevac loading up in the main base, so that's going to be pushing across the map to maybe try and get something done, as the main first attack doesn't achieve anything. 4 medevacs of units then going to go boosting up the right hand side. Four Colossus, Zealot Stalkers, a few sentries mixed in as well. You can see that Stats has already mined out this pathway to give him access towards the eventual 4th base. He obviously doesn't care too much if the Terran tries to attack in that direction. This drop though, 4 full medevacs and a full energy Raven. So a lot of units that are heading through the top side of the map, heading over towards the main base here in the next few moments. So quite a lot of units here from INnoVation. Let's see what they can do. Is, well, Warp Prism speed starts up, +1 armor as well. All of that on the way in is, there you go, INnoVation's actually just going to turn and start unloading probes. Going to be in trouble on the 3rd base. Stats is actually going to recall. Well, that's a very weird amount of his army to recall. As now we're going to have a load up and a drop into the main. High Templars. Feedback doesn't obviously do that much damage anymore. Well, Colossus arriving here. The Bio's going to get quite a lot of kills. There's another 2 medevacs heading through the center of the map. We'll check in on those in a moment. There's going to be some Zealots charging in, but honestly the Bio is going to fight very well against this. Interference Matrix on the Colossus is going to allow for the Bio to sit here a little bit longer and keep on fighting. And now they're attacking the 3rd base, and that's the thing. The longer you keep these units busy in the main of that main army, and hence the Interference Matrix, the more time this army over here gets to deal damage as well. What a multi-prong by INnoVation. 18 probes killed. Takes a 30 worker lead from this, and didn't even lose too much of his army in the process either. These two medevacs are healthy. Lost 2 full medevacs here in the Raven as well, but boy, I think it was worth it. In fact, the Raven's not even dead. It's just hiding on the top left-hand side. You know, for 17 Marines, 20 bio units basically. He killed 10 Zealots and a Stalker and a High Templar. I think with the 20 probes he killed as well, this is absolutely worthwhile. I mean, that economy difference for INnoVation now is huge, and he very comfortably starts up at Ghost Academy while already having Viking production underway to help deal with the incoming Colossus attack, potentially, or just the fight this Colossus on the map in general. A War Prism counter here, but obviously INnoVation is at home anyway, so it's not going to get much done. It does force a stim over to the right-hand side, and it is Stats who very quickly then leaves with the War Prism up the right. And that's a Marine in the front, gets taken down. Colossus lasers, able to shoot that down easily. Fourth Nexus here from Stats, continuing to build as the War Prism flying around in circles. Medevac loads up a few more Marines as well. We'll see where they go as 2 more Vikings, 3 more Ghosts, all popping out. These are all the tech units that INnoVation really wants to work with here over the next few minutes. And there's a little bit of bio from INnoVation. Going to start pressing up the right-hand side. These Vikings back down the right as well. And just looking to see what else will happen here. There's a few more probes popping out. Nexus dropping in on the 4th base. Just a couple of scouting units from each player kind of on different pathways. See which base INnoVation does take as a 4th. He might take the low ground when he gets to a 4th CC and just kind of hold a very kind of forward position. In fact, use it up right away there. So it kind of makes sense as sees this War Prism coming in too. Good little scout with the bio units. But yeah, this base kind of does make a lot of sense, right? Because you can, obviously, Protoss isn't going to get through here. So then if you hold this position here, you're protecting your 3 bases other than War Prism attacks, and your 4th is held very easily too. So it is kind of the difference in styles of the races, right? Where the Protoss player kind of wants to kind of hold back, and the Terran player wants to, you know, push on in or attack forwards. And here we go now, the War Prism just coming on the left-hand side. There's also one on the right, so this is multi-pronged aggression from Stats as bio stimming through, a couple of Vikings popping out. War Prism will go down, but that's already 10 SCVs dead. Storms and force fields on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, as this War Prism actually backed away for a few moments, going to wait out. And this is now 24 SCVs killed, though. That's actually pretty serious. At the same time, the Raven comes in, auto turret in the main to get a few probe kills. It's already target firing the probes. Love that. Another auto turret looks like it might come down. Nope, the Raven's just on its wander. He's going to drop down the auto turret there. The Stalker pulls away. The Raven will survive a little bit longer. Main army of INnoVation doesn't do too much else. Looks like the War Prism over on this right-hand side, sorry, did go down. So both War Prisms killed off. INnoVation now doesn't have to deal with any further pressure, although losing almost 30 workers obviously wasn't too pretty for him. INnoVation with a momentary upgrade lead, that'll disappear shortly. But make something happen with this army, so I mean, it's a scary army. That's the one thing that INnoVation's got. He's got the Raven somehow still alive. He's got the, you know, mostly in the army though, tanks still up, with a lot of Vikings, a good few Ghosts mixed in. If you can use this correctly, you could absolutely end this game with one large attack underneath the chair. Oh, I love that tank position. That's really awkward for Stats to now move forwards. I mean, he cannot come towards this ramp at all. And that actually gives a lot of zoning potential for INnoVation as the Zealot's just going to run across the map on their own. The new War Prism hasn't come up just yet. EMP is dropping down. Vikings taking the opportunity and actually will get one Colossus already. The other Colossus goes super low, super fast. INnoVation just stimming a few units up to that high ground there. Turns around towards the 3rd after the Warpins hit on the natural. I love that move too. I mean, that's just like, oh, I see you warping in already. May as well make something happen with these units. And now he's actually going to come across with the main army here. And he is going to find himself a couple of shots off of these Vikings. Not bad at all. I think he just picked off, I think double War Prism just got built. And, or 2 War Prisms, and one of them just got shot down instantly. The other one now moving across the map. Not sure why there was 2, but, well, INnoVation backing away once again. So these tanks over here, just playing this positional game, just sort of saying, you know, Stats, if you make a mistake, I am going to jump on you in an instant. 3 more Liberators on the way up, Fusion Core and another Starport. So, never saw the Liberators in the last game, but we will see them coming in here. Fusion Core 2 for that advanced ballistics is going to eventually give him that Liberator range, but another round of Zealots in the 3rd base. Last time this was devastating to his economy. It'll have a similar effect this time, because INnoVation's maxed out. He doesn't have any units at home to really go and deal with that. So what does he do, actually? I mean, he has to send units back home from his main army across the map, and of course it's very difficult for him to realistically push in here at the moment. He's sending Ghosts and Marines. We'll go check in on those in a moment, because for the moment this army is still posturing. Okay, the Ghosts show up, drops an EMP, Bio Stims, and I guess Liberators pop out too. It should be enough to clean this up. The Ghosts don't go down. At the same time, INnoVation pushes up this ramp. coming in here. The Vikings shoot down the Colossus right away. Good EMPs. The first storm was not able to connect. And now EMPs continue to land on high tempo, so there's no storms available. The last one was on that Templar in the back, and now it's gone. Well, suddenly Stats just doesn't have anything to deal with this. Zealots are still being a nuisance over here, but choked up into Ghosts. It's becoming a bit more of a problem. The Vikings have landed to help out because there's no Colossus remaining. 2 more High Templar coming in, but I'm not sure if they can hit the storms they need to. Ghosts are hunting for the EMPs. There's 1 storm left, that's it. And those High Templar not even getting a chance to morph into Archons as INnoVation picks his way through the natural and the third at the same time. The attacks across the map are starting to be done. The last couple of Zealots moving forwards now. As INnoVation knows he's going to pick off these bases, and Stats is in trouble. Now, Zealot Wolven here becomes slow as the pylon gets disconnected from the Nexus, and EMP kind of misses, but whatever. The Zealots die anyways, and there is nothing to defend this right-hand side base. INnoVation is held on at home as well. There's no Zealots left over there any longer, and that is going to be GG. INnoVation's going to wrap this one up 3-1 in the best of 5, and he advances through to the next round or so. We might cast that next round as well. Still finding it a bit difficult to find time to make these casts, guys. Like I said, I did the first 2 games one day, and then I had to go do stuff, and I actually didn't get a chance yesterday to cast, so still having a bit of trouble doing these YouTube things, but I'm at least going to try and get just uploads from the stream going again as well. Obviously best of 5s are a bit longer as well, so maybe I should try find some best of 3s to cast. That might be a better approach, so that we can definitely squeeze them in rather than, you know, best of 5 can obviously go on quite well. I mean, these last 2 games were like, what, 30-ish minutes long together? A bit longer. So yeah, the best of 5, probably about an hour. So yeah, sorry for the lack of uploads as mentioned, just real life stuff going on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll hopefully have some more uploads for you guys in the very